On the morning of the 9th of January 2026, a devastating discovery was made along Randfontein Road, just after passing Poortjie in Gauteng. Two bodies were found lying in an open area near the roadside. As news began to spread, it became clear that this was not just another crime scene, but the tragic end of a desperate search that had gripped two families for more than a week. The victims were identified as 25-year-olds Nontokozo Mazibuko Andiswa Sontangane. For their families, hope had carried them through days of uncertainty and fear. That hope was shattered when they themselves made the heartbreaking discovery. The same families who had been searching tirelessly for answers were now forced to confront the unimaginable reality of loss. Nontokozo and Andiswa were last seen on the 31st of December 2025 in Evaton, Gauteng. Like many young people welcoming the end of the year, they were spending time away from home, unaware that it would be the last time their loved ones would see them alive. When they failed to return or make contact, concern quickly turned into alarm. Phone calls went unanswered, messages were left unread. As hours turned into days, families began knocking on doors, asking questions, and retracing the last known movements of the two women. Posters were shared. Social media appeals spread across Gauteng and beyond. Each passing day deepened the fear that something had gone terribly wrong. Behind every missing person case is a family living in limbo, mothers unable to sleep, siblings constantly checking their phones, relatives clinging to even the smallest piece of information. For Nontokozo and Andiswa's families, the search became all-consuming. On the 9th of January, that search led them to Randfontein Road. What they found there changed their lives forever. Emergency services and police were called to the scene, but by the time they arrived, the families were already there, overwhelmed with grief. Witnesses described scenes of visible shock and heartbreak as reality set in. The road was closed off, and authorities began their investigation, while loved ones stood nearby, struggling to comprehend the loss of two young women who had simply vanished days earlier. Nontokozo Mazibuko and Andiswa Sontangane were both 25 years old, at an age where life is usually filled with plans, ambition, and possibility. Friends describe them as vibrant, full of life, and deeply loved by those around them. Their sudden deaths have left a painful silence where laughter and dreams once lived. As word of the discovery spread, the community reacted with anger, sorrow, and deep concern. Questions began to surface immediately. What happened after they were last seen in Evaton? Who was with them? Why were they found so far from where they were last known to be? These are questions investigators are now working to answer. Police have confirmed that an investigation is underway, treating the matter with the seriousness it deserves. At this stage, details remain limited as authorities work to gather evidence, review timelines, and speak to potential witnesses. Families have pleaded for anyone with information to come forward, hoping that truth and accountability will follow their loss. The case has once again brought attention to the ongoing crisis of violence against women in South Africa. Stories like this are tragically familiar, and each one leaves behind not only grieving families, but a nation forced to confront uncomfortable realities about safety, justice, and protection. For many women, especially young women, moving freely without fear remains a daily challenge. Nontokozo and Andiswa's story echoes countless others, reminding communities of how quickly lives can be taken and how devastating the consequences are for those left behind. As investigations continue, families are now faced with the painful task of mourning while still searching for answers. Funerals will be planned, tributes will be shared, but the questions will remain, lingering long after the crowds disperse and the headlines fade. At the scene on Randfontein Road, the families remained long after authorities had arrived, unwilling to leave their loved ones behind. Their grief was raw, their pain undeniable. It was a moment that captured the human cost of violent crime, not in statistics, but in tears, silence, and broken hearts. Nontokozo Mazibuko and Andiswa Sontangane are more than names in a news report. They were daughters, friends, and members of a community that now mourns their loss. Their lives mattered, and their deaths demand answers. As South Africa watches this case unfold, many are calling for justice, accountability, and real change. Until those responsible are identified and held to account, the pain felt by these families will remain open and unresolved. For now, two families grieve, two lives are gone, and a nation is once again reminded of the urgent need to protect its women and ensure that no family has to endure such a devastating loss. The investigation continues.